All right, boys, girls, and non-binary pals, welcome back to the Age of Empires 4 action. It's the return of Fei Chan on the Order of the Dragon. She keeps turning up in my chat and being like, why no OOTD? I'm like, that's fine, Fei. We can just cast your games and get it done. And well, if you're live in my chat right now, you'll see things like that. Shout out to King Smurf coming in with a sub. Appreciate you, buddy. If you guys want to make sure you don't have to worry about ads as you catch these amazing games live, be sure to sub to the channel. On the other side of this, though, we're going to have them going up against David Kim, a.k.a. Puppy Paw, manning the Byzantines in the green. An interesting matchup, especially on a map like Cliffside, and I'm already liking what I see from the opening of Fei Chan here. She goes in for the racks, courtesy of the extra 50 wood you start with now compared to expansion release Order of the Dragon. And then on a short map like Cliffside, you can actually do a lot of damage with this play, because check the other side of this. Puppy Paw only just moved out to set up the mining camp. The Spearman is already halfway there, so she's rallied him to the right location. And it looks like it's going to be 2 villagers, probably a third coming out here for Puppy Paw. There's a risk that he has to pull back and shift out villagers, right? Shifting low HP ones for high HP ones. So very frustrating start to this game for him. I'm wondering, actually, like what the plan's going to be in this game. Considering he already sees a Racks and sees Horsemen, probably not going to be the right call. I wouldn't be surprised if Puppy Paw tries to go for Grand Winery. The sad part of it, though, is the Grand Winery would be on the forward towards the Order of the Dragon base. But here we go, spinning in. And this hits like a truck. In fact, he activates the Akratoy to fight back. I actually love that detail there. I think it's better to try and like get some damage in on the Gilded Spearman than just walk away, because otherwise you're going to be idled out for longer. And now, Puppy Paw, with the appropriate reaction, pulls 6 villagers total to the gold to make sure he can get this quickly. Instead, he goes for the pinch! Okay, Fei. Okay, she got handled there. That was beautifully done. The +2 melee defense makes it very hard for the Spearman to just trade out here, which is why you're seeing a bit of panic. The crazy part about Akratoy in this matchup is pretty interesting, actually. From a defensive standpoint, Akratoy giving you the +2 melee armor means this Spearman is just the same as a standard Spearman. It's not a strong Spearman anymore, right? It's pretty underwhelming. Then add in the fact that you also got the return fire going up to, I think it's 10 damage the Akratoy gives you to attack back with. And that's why the Spearman started to panic like that. Great move there by Puppy Paw. System plays coming in clutch to get him the necessary gold to find his way up into Feudal Age. And as expected, it is going to be that Grand Winery dropped right next to the berries. Meanwhile, back at home for Fei Chan. Because she did invest in that Spearman, they are not cheap. She spent 160 resources on that, so it's going to be a little bit slower on her tech up. And no, I saw that in the chat. Exactly 200. You're like, praise the Byzantines. Praise Puppy. Wait a second. Now, a little bit extra gold than intended, but better to have more than less in this circumstance. 3 villagers to rush this up. I say rush it up. Cruise this up, because he knows that Fei's going to be a lot slower on her tech timing, so it's not as much of a panic for him. Looks like she is going to be going for the Minework Palace, so we are going to probably be seeing some Golden Cuirass gameplay. I noticed Fei is a really big fan of this in the early game, and it makes a lot of sense. I think if you're going to open racks like this, following up with Golden Cuirass Men-at-Arms makes a lot of sense. Hopefully, we'll be seeing some Archer play in that. Can be a little bit dicey to go Gilded Archers against the Byzantines in the early game, because they can go Longbows. But to get Longbows, they do have to access their berries, which is a little bit harder if you're able to park here. Yeah, it's one of those games where you really wish it was a back swarm berry if you're Puppy Paw, because then it would be much harder for her to get reinforcements in here. Looks like instead it's going to be move out on the stone with 2. I don't know if we're going to be looking at multi-TC play here. I think this is just for the system scaling, right? Because like right now, the wood gathering is a little bit slow to get into that escalation. Level 2 should be accessible once these buildings are plopped down, though. It's been being a little bit annoying, but ultimately, this spear is heavily damaged, so diving isn't exactly a great idea anymore. Might try for it, but if the Akratoy comes out, you'll probably just be insta-dead. There we go. Gets the surround. Nice little chase there as well. It's down to 48 HP. In fairness, Fei is finding that extra layer of value that you kind of need to in this position here, because this has kind of gotten awkward, right, of how long it's taken overall. Weird the way that that works. Like, literally, when you activate Akratoy, it shows you the torch damage. So, honestly, I think Akratoy is... I feel like it's just not doing as much damage as it's meant to. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see this get adjusted and fixed, and all of a sudden, Akratoy feels a little bit more threatening. But 10 HP remaining on the Spearman. It has served the Empire well, but time for it to retire permanently as it walks off into the abyss. Meanwhile, Fei is going to walk off into the deer. She gets to play Pocket Eco because she understands that in this matchup, the way this is opened up, there's no realm of existence where Puppy Paw is going to come out of his base straight away. For a start, He didn't go for the Hippodrome, so it doesn't really have that flexibility. Instead, it is looking like we might be getting a 2 TC game. We have got an archer range being dropped, but like looking at the amount of stone being gathered, the fact that we haven't seen a level 2 cistern yet, this 100% looks like we are trending towards 2 TC with archers to guard. Well, if you get me up against archers, Golden Cuirass men-at-arms can fare pretty well, especially if you then back it up with the Gilded Archers we talk about. Also, one thing to keep in mind is because he's already on the olive oil gathering with the Grand Winery, he could get Lombos. And I do think if you get into Lombos with the Byzantines, the Gilded Archers aren't as scary. They still are very tanky, but the reality is when you're turtling, your opponent can't dent your base. It's very difficult. It's like the Spearman can't at least try to harass this scout away. So right now, Poppy Paw just trying to get some critical info, see what the lay of the lands is. Wondering, is this going to be a multi-TC build? We've seen a lot of that. Is this an all-in? And it looks like it's going to be double rack. So Faye isn't even contemplating adding in the archers. Just going raw into the melee here. Well, this can get a little bit scary actually for Poppy Paw then, because if she gets enough of these together and starts diving into the base, now that Poppy Paw is playing 2 TC, he's going to end up inflating his eco count quite quickly. Problem with that is it means that in terms of garrison space, you already have more villages than you have save points, right? Like you're up at 25, you got room for 22. And that's just going to be a compounded issue now that you've got 2 buildings escalating that eco count. It's one of those situations where you think about it that way, having more economy is kind of a bad thing. Upside from at least, you know, this is not a civ that gets something from killing extra villages, right? Like if this was Byzantines with the Exploratores, they'd be getting paid gold to kill those villages. You don't have to worry about that. Well, the big boys are out. They always look so clumsy like this. Archer isn't at least going to drag him away. I actually think that's a really good use there by Poppy Paw. Right now, you just can't fight these. They are way too tanky. The best move you've got is literally pulling their attention elsewhere so that instead of them harassing your eco, they're chasing after you for ages. So we're going to see a dive coming out from that first Guild of Men-at-Arms. Ranged damage reduction is already in, so we have got the 1+1 armor here for the Guild of Men-at-Arms. And remember, that's one of the benefits of going for the mine work. Not only did you get that tech 40% faster, you also get it 40% cheaper. Meanwhile, right now on Twitch, you get subs 25% cheaper. I don't know where that came from. I'm so sorry. Villagers now starting to die, though. Good little strike there by Faye. Getting some damage done. And these last so bloody long. I actually think the play for Poppy Paw would be Blacksmiths here. Blacksmiths into ranged upgrade. Really big deal here. You need to negate the fact that this extra armor's in here. The effective HP on these units is just freaking absurd. I mean, they're just diving the primary TC like it's nothing. Like, look at this. Now the Golden Cuirass is going to trigger. 20% less damage incoming as well. Akratoy is forced to defend. It looks like they are going to turn and burn, but honestly, the +2 melee armor is just inconsequential when you're already being struck for 14 damage. You're still going to be hemorrhaging villages here, so Poppy Paw has lost 3 so far in total. Men-at-Arms keeps coming. But where's the ball play? Oh, it's on the way. Moving out for it now. Oh, that would have been a sick body block grab there by Faye. So it looks like the Men-at-Arms are going to help out against Pumbaa here. As villagers will now be gathering on the best default gathering rate they can get on this map here. So Outpost also, because Faye, being responsible, realizes she's very far out from her base. It'd be a bit dangerous not to have that layer of protection. Especially if your opponent's playing archers into you don't even know what mercenary contract. And it is the one that you should fear here when you're playing wide like this. Looks like Poppy Paw is going to be going in for the Keshiks. I do like Keshiks a lot here. I think longbows, if you could tickle your opponent down, sure. But what we just saw from Faye is an ability to just dive under primary TC without a care in the world. So instead, getting the Keshiks gives you this cycle charge ability where you can wallop these Guild of Men-at-Arms down over time. And because you have high base damage, they actually feel the pain. Also forces Faye to consider going into the melee damage reduction now as well. Funnily enough, she hasn't even got the melee damage increase yet. Considering the amount of gold she's flowing, a little bit surprising, but she's struggling so much on food to even keep the Men-at-Arms push coming. That's why. Outpost also added in to Poppy Paw. He's found the counter to what we were highlighting, right? Not enough room for everyone to hide. Build more buildings. There's going to be forced commitment into garrison the TC again here. So annoying as well, considering that actually Poppypaw doesn't have a mill yet, which means they don't have the wheelbarrow to run safely into these TCs quickly. That's just extra idle time for them. But good cleanups now coming out from the Keshiks. This really was the correct read by Poppypaw. It's a frustrating game right now for Faye, as all of a sudden these men-at-arms aren't finding the hit they once were. In fact, it's costing her an arm and a leg to keep trying this. Now, she has kept the eco lead small for Poppypaw. Poppypaw is 7 villages up, which you expect a slight lead on 1 TC anyway, because the dragon villages take 24 seconds. So realistically, you've got to add a 25% increase to the villager count for Faye, which actually puts them neck and neck. Let's say he gets to, like, the interesting thing to me is if Poppypaw can get up to, say, 4 Keshiks, I think he can start picking these men-at-arms off one by one. And because of the superior movement speed, you can even cycle low HP ones so that you tank with the full health ones and always just keep healing. That's the beauty of the Keshiks, right? What you just saw there. Like, without the healing, that Keshik would have been dead to that many hits. Now, able to go on the prowl. Now, of course, the outpost is out here. It's another thing I actually love about Order of the Dragon is because they're a lot more efficient with their gathering rate, you don't really need to send as many villages to locations. It means that with the way that they designed Order of the Dragon, outposts become a more effective defense for this HRE variant compared to its daddy Civ. And the thing I like about that is it's essentially the devs' way of trying to encourage Order of the Dragon to play pocket economies where HRE never do, right? They don't come out of their base. A bit of a throwaway in the Keshik there. Poppypaw, how are we looking now? So he's almost exhausted the last of the berries. Did lose one of the Keshiks for this. We'll be able to afford the second wave, but not enough berries remaining to get the third. We are now going to start seeing leveling the systems. The impressive part actually is that Poppypaw has been doing this with only level 1 systems, so they're missing out on a lot of increases in terms of gathering rates in this area. One problem with going that aggressive the system though, folks, you now don't have an easy way of aqueducting it up when the men-at-arms come in. Interesting to actually see that he's going into Horsemen here. Really surprising considering your opponent does have spears. But I think the thought process here for Poppypaw is that he'll get opportunities to raid on the flanks, right? He knows that Faye isn't making a farm transition. She's playing out onto these pocket ecos. The reason she's doing that, by the way, is that this men-at-arms spam, she has to escalate it, right? Which means she has to keep paying a higher and higher price, a much higher price, in fact. Remember, this Guild of Men-at-Arms costs 200 food and 40 gold. So the only way she can feasibly do that and keep that rolling is if she keeps moving from deer site to berry site to boar. And that's where these horsemen are going to come in very handy. Super explosive, in fact, because when you get expilatores and you find those targets, you're just going to get paid for the duty of taking them out. Men-at-arms clash here. A little bit awkward. Feeling a bit outnumbered. The micro just on point. Poppypaw not allowing any of his troops to go down right now as he peels off injured ones and finishes them off. 2 men-at-arms down. Nothing lost on the other side of Poppypaw. Finally, 1 horseman is going to fall. But this plan is falling apart right now. Faye is trying to get into the spearmen, but that's another unit that's going to be slow. It's not going to be able to choose where it fights. And also, Poppypaw already has the archery ranges, so if he has to go now in to the archers to count you out, more than happy to do so. Not to mention that, unlike these men-at-arms, these spearmen, they can't dive these TCs, these outposts, right? It's just too much saturated fire. The only reason the MAA lasts as long as they did isn't just the 4 ranged armor compared to the 1. It's the extra 50 HP they get, and also the fact that when they get low, that golden cuirass kicks in. So, glad to see Faye, understanding that maybe there isn't a way of cracking this egg right now. Might be better to look to later in the game. She is saving up a lot of food right now. We could be looking at Imperial Age soon. Castle Age soon, rather. Imperial will be quite the jump. Issue at the moment, though, is this is Regnitz. She doesn't have much map control to utilize Regnitz. There's a lot of horsemen here, and she's not going to be able to block them all. Well, if they take bad fights like that, you'll be more than happy. Poppypaw. How are the berry patches looking here? He has got some at the back corner. That's an 8-stack right in the corner. So that should be safe insulation for later in the game. Really important to keep escalating these mercenaries, because right now, the real saving grace for Poppypaw has been those Keshiks. I'm wondering, actually, if we are going to start seeing Poppypaw soon add in the olive groves around here. Just because it's going to give you that permanent olive oil reliance, right? Like, right now, the whole idea is you drop into a berry patch and you have a big chunk of resource income. But if you are able to set up the olive groves, you have a consistent income. You don't have to worry about this number surging up to 500. It will maintain a steady, say, 100 a minute or so, 200 a minute. I am seeing the push-up redemptions. We'll do them after the game. Otherwise, you literally can't see a thing. Clash coming in. Keshik leading the charge here. Doesn't feel like there's enough spearmen, though, for Faye. Doesn't even want to take the fight. For good reason, the archers are just countering her out there. Wolves even joining in the party because it looks like a fun time. This is just absurd to watch. Really, like, honest, to put it in StarCraft terms, playing against Order the Dragon makes you feel like Zerg and makes them look like Protoss, no matter what you try to do. You just feel like Zerglings. They're just so bloody chunky. But they are down, they are gone. There's plenty more waves where that came from. There's 8 minute arms, 11 spears still in play, but the Regnitz is on the way up. Now, this is going to be a little bit unfortunate for Faye, is if she intends to upgrade those men at arms right now are a bit bugged. If she upgrades them to Castle Age, they lose the Golden Cuirass buff. Wrap around the back. Puppy Paw should find 2 villages for his troubles if he gets the charge off. 65 HP. I mean, with the Keshik charges coming in, that should be both of them going down. Looks like the second one gets away due to the rotation there. So nicely played. A few cav units are going to be lost, but Puppy Paw, check the resource bank on this lad. Has enough troops to attack and defend, and now has the resources to catch up to Faye. Faye is in Castle Age ahead of him, but Puppy Paw's not going to be far behind. Now, this is very important because he went for the Grand Winery. He does have access to the monks immediately. So he should be able to mirror the move and take relics away. This is looking like a 2-free relic game split with Faye's area easily having free reachable. The reason why she should still be able to get free is because of this edge she has, right? Like right now, she already pumped out the first prelate. She could have a second one before David Kim's is out. And this is one very big difference, by the way, between standard HRE and Order the Dragon. Order the Dragon kind of have a harder time rushing the relics at the start of Castle Age because they can't build prelates before this Regnitz is complete. It's a very, very big difference. Just think about those civs that have that edge, like the HRE, like the Ottomans, an ability to get these religious units out early. I think Delhi is the extreme example where they can literally castle up and immediately pick up 5 relics. There's not many civs that can do that. So Fate is trying to stay on the offensive. Now, keep in mind, she went for the upgrade, so look, it's gone. No Golden Cuirass now on these men-at-arms. Newly produced men-at-arms will have the Golden Cuirass, but these ones no longer have that padding. Keshiks are at the back of this, by the way. This is one awkward thing about spamming a lot of horsemen with a lot of Keshiks, is that your horsemen, they end up body blocking your Keshiks, which is your high damage unit. You really want your Keshiks to be getting in with the licks. This is buying a little bit of time. Meanwhile, villages are chased away. Good little flank here by Faye, finding her way onto the deer stack that Puppy Paw was exploiting. We'll force him back to the safety of the main army. The main army is now getting upgraded. Veterancy contract is also going to be coming in soon. No Dialecticas to speed it up, however. It doesn't matter. Still going to be a win of a fight here. Crossbows are being scaled into, so men-at-arms are not going to be the saving grace here for Faye. Looks like instead she's actually continuing to scale the spearman numbers. Pretty cool idea considering the amount of Keshiks and horsemen in play and the fact that you know your opponent is going to have more Keshiks as the game goes on. I'm wondering actually, Faye, is there a world in which she just goes imp here? It's super tempting in games like this, right? I don't see her being able to outright win these fights at the second, but I could be wrong. I mean, military pop-wise, she's ahead. It's just the fact that it's all spears. And realistically, if you just see like Puppy Paw get enough crossbows together, that's still a decent solution up against spears, just because it's the range versus melee advantage. And you know, these units are tanky, but they aren't fast, right? Then again, crossbows are notably slow. She actually could fight this now that I think about it. Because the reality, like, if this was archers with the bonus damage and the fact they move at 1.25 instead of 1.12, you could get kited. I don't think crossbows can kite this many spears. And the thing that I love about melee solutions for Order of the Dragon in these type of engagements is because you have this more efficient one unit, it means your melee lines engage quicker than your opponent on the similar, or rather same pop cap. Where they'll have to fold around their lines, you just got this independent dude standing there with a giga 15 damage per poke as a veteran spearman. ready to fight with 220 health. Relic is going to be denied. Dude, Faye is already up to 3 relics, but I do not know how this happened to this extent, but Puppy Paw, unable to block her at all. Wallow's going to come out. A perfect position to do this from Puppy Paw. However, I'm not sure if you're going to get that relic home. Faye is moving in again. And I can't help but feel that you're either going to throw away your cavalry or give over the relic, and instead, Puppy Paw throws it away. Wallow around the back here. What is this move here? Faye, wait, what? Why? Puppy Paw, what? Wait, why did he run left? You can't Wallow religious units. That was the most bold, random, not gonna work, but did work Wallow I've ever seen in my life. Now, let's talk about why Faye done that. It was sick because it forced the horseman to run right instead of run away. But I think Puppy Paw just selected everything that he saw green and moved it out the area, which included the relic grabber. And now it's going to be 5 relic Order of the Dragon. Dude, Faye is so damn awesome. How did that work? Oh, it's the panic, right? It's hard to keep your cool in a moment like that. Like, how many of us have been there? We just hear Wallow, and instantly we go into fight or flight mode. And it turns out Puppy Paw should have fought when he chose to floor. Because I'd said... Sorry, I had to go over. I didn't say fight again, so it didn't rhyme. See, that might be my favorite Wallow play of the expansion. Solely that play there, I don't think. It's so hard in games at this caliber, right? Like, this is high-skill environment. It's very easy in that moment, like, because you have to make a snap choice there. Like, the Wallow's there, and you look across, you see you've got units in range, you just want to peel them out. But, yeah, just to clarify for people, religious units can't be converted by Wallows. So next time someone tries to Wallow and you've got 2 warrior monks in the area, you know what to do. Cataphracts raid on the flank here. Spearmen, they buy time, they say, go! Tell tales of us. Wait. Are there villagers in there? I mean, there are more spearmen coming, so this should be fine. Cataphract's not looking so tanky up against these units. Spearmen on the flank here. It looks like the crossbow archer army is going to be able to answer this, so should push Faye away. But, I mean, Faye is doing a great job in this game. Can we just appreciate that? She's got 25 extra eco in terms of gathering rate compared to the 60 numbers showing, so she's competing there. She has 5 relics, which is adding extra gathering in this income that makes her somewhat on even ground with Puppy Paw, especially when she starts diving in and forcing out of time like this. 5 Landsknecht on the move. They're going to go around looking for eco, and they might be able to find it. Puppy Paw! No! The scout saw it! Puppy Paw, if he doesn't instant react, they're dead. They're actually just dead. Landsknecht, they get the cleaves in. What a move out of Faye. Heavy losses for Puppy Paw, just like that. Chopped off the block, 20 down. Oh my god! And she might still get more hits. If she just gets one lick in there, boom! Okay, it was the wide one. By some miracle, that did not clip onto the rest. Look at those health bars! Faye, what a play. What I love about that is the brazen way she walks past the main engagement with 5 Landsknecht, and it somehow just goes unnoticed the entire way. Until it's too late. Puppy Paw also in a bit of a pickle here. There's another Landsknecht in there. You can see him. He's the big boy swinging his lance the other way. And even if he doesn't hit the spearman, everything like Puppy Paw, he immediately needs to pull away. But right now he's distracted on the front side, taking a fight. He does shift off this. But Faye's chasing, and there's so many low HP villagers. Landsknecht is like, scrappy dude, just let me at him. Won't be able to quite get it, but keep in mind, Puppy Paw just marched out of his base. Now he has to march back into it. Oh, Faye, you absolute legend. And she's already building up the next wave at home. Oh my god, this is full Benny Hills. Okay, chase me this way. Now come in on the left. Oh, chase me the left. I'll come in on the right. It's awkward because Puppy Paw, yeah, he just got the re-wall, but the damage is already done with them being on the back here, right? Drawing that much focus away from the front line. Landsk is at least going to go down. So the biggest threat, the big cleave boy, is gone. However, There's another wave coming. And she's using the inspiration. This is so important, by the way. Like, I've noticed a few players playing Order of the Dragon without the inspiration buff. Missed opportunity. Remember, these units are independently better than normal HRE's units, which means that buffing them up, 15% damage increase, is substantially more. For Gilded Archers at this point in the game, that's going to be 2 extra damage when you've got the ranged upgrades. For Landsknecht that hit for 20 plus damage, that's going to be a sizable increase of free damage. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you do it in a wide arc, it counts. And the other thing as well, where it feels even more impactful, is these are units that have a little bit better base damage, but more important than that, things like the archers have a much better attack speed than your normal archers. And the cool thing about it, because you have less units, you need less prelates to sustain the buff. So totally worth doing. Love to see it out of Faye. And all of a sudden, Puppy Paw, instead of chasing in, trying to punish Faye, hurt her a bit while she's in the middle of a farm transition, he's running around the back of his own base. The funny part is, you can see by the timing on this, Faye is waiting to go in on the flank again when he shows up on the front side. 5 relics on the HRE. This is just an absurd amount of gold. 800 gold passively a minute, folks. Faye, she just doesn't know what to do with it. It's too much. You know what you do with it? You build mangoes. Look at this comp right now that Puppy Paw is running. He has got the cataphracts to get to the back line, but you have spears to just completely disintegrate those heavy cav. The transition isn't ready to go yet. I mean, she's got the siege workshop. She just doesn't have the wood. Push in here. And damage being added in fast. Spearman, Landsk thinking about it, but I think this is not a fight you can take. E-repairs is going to be popped. That's going to be a shift over to the other outpost, but a lot of damage coming in from these. The Springald's in place, and the Relic buff damage hitting for a lofty 55 per shot. Landsk just looking for one good swing there, getting a few in. Archer count not looking good. The dive comes in deeper. Puppy Paw looking strong in this position, but the second wave's on the way home. This is not everything that Faye had. This was half the army, and the second wave's coming in. Spearman and Landsk moving in under the cataphracts. They can't get through the outposts. Limited torches means I don't think she can fight this anymore, or he can fight this rather. Puppy Paw needs to reconsider his position. Cataphract charge comes out, but now the Mango gets the freebie. Able to shift away though. Puppy Paw, one of the best micros at dodging Mangoes in the game. Shows you exactly why. Villager being pulled to repair the Mango. Cataphract with a high damage doesn't make this easy though. More Spearmen coming out, and it looks like the cavalry are all but dead. That means this is going to be ranged units versus the outpost, and that's a fight that Puppy Paw can't take. So, despite what looked like a strong engagement, he gets pushed back. And with that reset, a lofty loss. Yes, a lot of the Order of the Dragon units went down, but these cataphracts are a similar cost. So losing all of them definitely kicks Puppy Paw in the purse. And even throwing away a few extra, not ideal here. So after that, after we've reset, now we look at things. I mean, the Olive Grove count is the thing that's kind of concerning me. I don't feel like Puppy Paw's got that many. 22 right now means he can't add in many mercs. It's unfortunate, actually, because considering he went for the Eastern Contract, getting into Ghoulam's not the worst idea up against archers. I could see just massing more Keshiks being a good thing for him, but instead, it's going to be counted out by the perfect play from your HRE. What's the counter to anything in an HRE game in his mind? It is simply to build more villages. Palace of Swabia is on the way for the Order of the Dragon. All of a sudden, this eco gap, which really is not that big, is about to shrink, and that's going to put Faye miles ahead. Another thing to keep in mind is from a raw population perspective, Order of the Dragon is more efficient with the way that they can balance their eco, because the dragon villages don't cost extra population. They are still better than independent villages from other civs. So outposts are going to be going up. Now, Puppy Paw playing into Mangonel outpost is really smart here. Very strong tool. We've seen it time and time again turn games. It's actually usually the beginning of a good hold for Byzantines, but this is going to be a hard hold, folks. This is Castle versus Imperial right now. And Puppy Paw, because he went Trebs, he doesn't have a fast way of denting this base. He's going to be able to take out some of the outposts, but the ones with the relics are still safe for the time being. So remember thinking twice about the jump in here, just waiting for those upgrades to come through. And I love that Faye is going back to archers in Imperial here. Very strong unit when you're up against a full range army. And also on top of that, they do so much damage due to the inspiration buff. Look at this damage right now. They hit for 12. Okay, one less is going to get buffed after that. That was cruel. Dude doesn't even hurt people. He just waves his hands. What's the hate? But yeah, right now she's getting +2 damage via the buff upgrade. Or rather, sorry, +4. Once she goes up to elite, these things are going to hit for about 16 damage. Which is no joke in a game like this. Even for ranking, they're going to feel that sting. Looks like instead it's going to be priority on the crossbow upgrades here. Just to make sure the Ghoulems and the Cataphracts are never really a threat. I love the fact that Puppy was like, okay, all of the dragon units are kind of OP to trade with. How do we trade safely with it? Trebuchets. Another worrisome thing. Did the Bodkin bolts come in? Okay, they're being queued up now. So that makes this even more worrisome. Because Faye's playing into the crossbows, if your Trebs are unguarded, I mean, you don't have siege works. You're not an Imperial, right? So you get caught by these fat boy crossbows. Look at the damage they do. They're going to do 21 base. They're going to get the extra 10 bonus. So they're always going to hit through this armor at this stage, and it's going to hurt. And considering she probably goes up to like 6 or 7 of them, it doesn't take too long to get through Trebs. Instead, though, going for the Covering. The perfect true answer in the end. Getting all these upgrades queued up. Another beautiful thing about the Minework Palace, it just upgrades them so quickly, and it does it so cheaply. The 40% discount really does start to kick in the tier 3. Bombard's now wheeling to the front. Notice he has got the Spirals coming to try and counter this. Treb shot's not on point, so it's not going to get the Bomber low enough. In fact, the Bombard is going to win that engagement. Oh, no. No, Puppy Paw. He loses it. Buff's there on the cleavers. Needs to be careful with the spread out. Bombard is going to be taken out in the end. I think the Trebs actually got their hits on the mark. Mangonels, though, if they turn for a shot here, Puppy Paw needs to be careful. Another thing to remember, the Inspiration buff adding extra 2 damage to each burst. All I'm going to say is, thank God you can't, in team games, buff your allies. Could you imagine the Manjaniques in incendiary mode with the Prelate buff? So for those that don't remember those numbers or remember the effect, it's 12 instances. They do 2 base damage, and the game rounds up. So if you were able to buff allies, it would increase it to 3 damage, which is quite a lofty increase in your overall output. Ghoulems, feeling a bit ambitious. This game has really grinded to a halt now, and the worrisome part is like Puppy Paw, he has got the upgrade. Now, what's the solution is what I'm wondering. Now, with the contract updates, he could get access into the elephants, right? But Tower Elephants here against the Giga Chad Spears is probably the quickest way to lose all your olive oil. Did he go with the Palatine School? He did. So we haven't got the option of Siege, which is kind of unfortunate. I think massing Nest of Bees can be a good solution here. I know I've said before that I don't think that Siege is the best answer to like Dragon Archers and whatnot because they have just too much health. But the thing about Mangonel versus Nest of Bees is just more of an all-purpose general anti-clump tool compared to Mangos that are more priority against range, right? And these fights will clump up a bit. Admittedly, it might be a case that Puppy Paw didn't think he'd have enough troops to be able to hold a front. In fact, right now, he's switching into Musafadi Warriors. I did not expect this. I think this is for the stealth factor to try and kill Eco, because I don't rate these units to win the main fight. Like, they walk in on a Landsknecht, they just die. More Bombard's coming for Faye. Knows she needs to break through this line. She knows it's entirely going to be Mangonels. I mean, well, she says... She knows, but obviously only one of them so far has been upgraded. But realistically, this could just be free. It's like Archers on the flank are going to be found out. This is very delicate what's happening here. Faye, she does see. She should rear off right now and just chase these away. Because right now, Puppy Paw is desperate for gold. He's fully locked in. He's playing out into the flanks wide here. Meanwhile, Faye is just trying to go in. She's added in hand cannoneers now. She's going to peel off some spears. So this gets a little bit worrisome because if Puppy Paw is running out of gold and he has to play onto the wide flanks, his army doesn't have the positional power to do that. It's all range. It's all infantry. There we go. In onto the eco. No textiles either. Puppy Paw starting to hemorrhage villages quickly. We'll have to shift away from this. We count his lucky stripes. That was not a Landsknecht, because if it was... You would have been seeing Afvidasan to about 10 or 12 of these villages. Now the dive comes in. Leader of the charge, Spearman, Landsk in the mix, and men-at-arms as well. And the pushback is strong here. Puppy Paw forced to retreat. And it looks like these outposts, I mean, he's going to wish he'd upgraded more of them because there's only one with a mangonel emplacement. However, right now, Faye, the bombard isn't here, so it's not dealing with that. The Prelate's just waving in the olive groves. But what really matters is how quickly Puppy Ball's going to be waving goodbye to his eco in the back. The backstab connects. Faye gets in onto the olive groves. And the only upside is that because it's the olive groves, it means they're on independent farms. The Landsk do not find that big wallop. However, that is idle time. That is eco dead. And now they get closer and closer. 92 to 103 eco. Puppy Paw in a world of pain. So these bombards are going to make it so much worse. The only upside right now is Faye is not taking out the Mangonel outpost. Downside, Mango doesn't do much damage to this unit with that much health. So farewell to the outpost. And farewell to the defenses. He's even got the Sprills coming in, which are completely undefended. Puppy Paw reacted with the army at the back, which means no one's here to defend the front. Oh no. I am sensing a GG on the horizon. I can feel it rumbling. And so can Mr. Magma. Shout out for the sub. As we may be about to witness Puppy Paw submitting to the power of Fei-chan. Big lover of the Order of the Dented. She does more than just dent the Byzantine. She full out knocks them out. And I just don't know what you're meant to build to solve this anymore. I think it's too late. Puppy Paw really needed that eco advantage to then build up a reserve, and then getting to the Limitane would have been cool here. When you're up against this many ranged units, can be effective. But I think it's too late to even consider that. Then we would have been needed, what, Streltsy, but obviously went for the Keshik contract, which I just don't think has a place in this game. And I really do not think that Puppy Paw has much of a place anymore. Musafadi coming in with the backstab, but he knows it's not going to work. GG gets called. You haven't looked them up yet. Go ahead. Faye and Puppy Paw, they both do stream on occasion, so be sure to give them a follow across on Twitch. But a fun one as we return to cast some more games. If you're watching on the YouTube side, be sure to subscribe. If you're watching on the Twitch side, time for more action.